trying to get up. I apologize for any delay, but I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it right. So here we are inside of a store. Each of these are grocery aisles or whatever aisle you want. Over here we have the cashiers, and then down here you see entry and exit. Now when we come into the store, we usually break off to the right or to the left, most of the time, not all the time, but for the most part we're just going to keep everything simple here. Now this is going to be us, and then this red diamond up here is going to be the person of interest or whoever we're worried about. And let's go ahead and kick it off. So as we walk into the store, we come off to the right, and when we come into grocery stores, you see the pattern here by these arrows. This is usually how people will shop. They'll come and then they will be scanning both sides of the aisle and then come over both sides of the aisle and so forth and so forth. Interesting little thing I learned recently is that if you can stay away from the center of the store, the further center you go in, the more processed the foods are. Just a quick little health tip for you there. Stay on the outskirts, and it's the healthiest items that you can find. Now, back to safety. Now, most people come in the store and this is what they do. So what we could do is a couple of different things when performing the J-hook maneuver inside of a grocery store or any sort of store with aisles. Now we're coming in, and then all of a sudden we pass up this person, they give us a weird vibe, and we're going throughout our aisles, and it kind of gives us the feeling that they're following us, right? Now what we could do as we come over here into the next aisle is go through that as normal to establish a baseline. Kind of like a polygraph, they'll ask you, is your name X? And you say yes. Do you live at this address? You say yes. They're establishing a baseline. They'll be like, do you know this person? You say no. So now they know when you're saying yes or no. Well, what you're doing by going through the store, just as soon as you identify, hey, this person's giving me the creeps, continue to walk through that next aisle just like you normally would to establish their behavioral baseline to see if they are walking through the aisle the same way that you are, or do they stop? Do they only focus on one side of the aisle, which very few people do? Just kind of get a baseline for their behavior. Now, as you come over into this next aisle, this is where the J-hook will begin. What you'll do is you will come over to the far side of the aisle, centering your focus on only this side of the aisle. That way, if they're behaving normally, they'll come over, and maybe we're just being paranoid, and they'll just go right through just like they normally would, because that's what they do. Now, if we go over and we focus our attention to simply just one side of the aisle, and then they come over and kind of just hang out and lounge here, what we could do is then perform the J-hook maneuver. Boom. Now we focus our attention to this side of the aisle. Now, their behavior should be straight through, over and on. But if for whatever reason they don't, and we leisurely check out this side of the aisle, well, if they now begin to stop and turn and do this side of the aisle, and then you go back into the previous aisle, double checking to make sure you didn't miss any items, and they come back over into this aisle, well, we're establishing a point system where the more strange behavior points they rack up, then the more likely it is that they are following you or harassing you or stalking you. And that at that point is pretty indicative. I would go straight to the cashier, security. I would request at this point, or I would look at them and ask them, hey, can I help you? Straight in the eyes. Remember, when you look at people in the eyes, it humanizes you. It takes away the element of surprise, and it allows you to identify them later. So if you're not going to ask them what they want or confront them here in that situation, then I would definitely just go to security. Now, let's say that you come over, they come over, and they start looking at one side of the aisle. You do your J-hook, and then they kind of feel the awkwardness of them following you, so they just go over here because they're like, you're going to come over here anyways, and they kind of just really slow down and hang out and stand around. Well, what you're going to do is when you perform this side of the aisle, this maneuver, the J-hook, you're going to actually skip an aisle, and then boom, begin it again. You're going to go down the one side of the aisle dedicated, and then you will come back up one side of the aisle dedicated. And that way, if they are just getting over here and doing their thing, then you will have come over here and performed your shopping maneuver prior to them reaching over here. Again, if they do reach over here, then you'll conduct that J-hook again just to kind of see what their deal is. Are they looking at you, still giving you a weird vibe? And then this is useful because you come over here into this aisle and you've never been down this aisle yet. And so you can just still naturally look for your items that you need while trying to identify, hey, does this person all of a sudden show back up in this aisle? Because if they do, then that is definitely a little bit strange. Now, let's see, we did the J hook. The last thing I wanted to talk about. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was speed. So when you're establishing their behavioral baseline, and let's say that you're coming through shopping normally, then you come over through here shopping normally, pick up the rate of your speed. So don't exactly be looking for items here. I want you to just go ahead and then blow through this out, not entirely, but move faster, much faster than you would normally. And when you make it over here into this next aisle, I want you to boom, stop and slow down like way much, because what that'll do then, if this person is actually following you, is that will force them to pick up their rate of speed because they don't want to lose sight of you for whatever reason. And then they turn the corner, boom, and all of a sudden you're stopped there. Their natural response needs to be to blow right past you. Now, if they picked up their rate of speed after you've established that behavioral baseline, that's a huge telltale sign right there that something's up. And even more so if they come around the corner all fast and then stop. Oh, hey, I'm just shopping over here. That's definitely a huge indicator that this person is possibly following you. So at that point, I would, definitely look at them in the eyes. I wouldn't necessarily bring anything up like, can I help you? What do you want? But just by looking at them in the eyes, looking at them in the face, we're taking away the element of surprise, humanizing ourselves, and we have the ability to identify them. Plus, eyes are the gateway to the soul. You'll be able to see what their true intentions are usually when you make eye contact with somebody. So again, we're going about shopping. We see this person, they kind of creep us out. We go ahead around the corner like normal. They come ahead around the corner. We start getting even more creeped out. So we go through the next aisle, normal shopping rate. They come through normal shopping rate. What we're doing is we're establishing that behavioral baseline. All right, once we've established their behavioral baseline is to go just down the aisle like we were. Next aisle, boom, we're coming over and we're centering and focusing our concentration on the one side of the aisle only. Don't even look at the items over here on this side. They should continue to pass through at the normal rate of speed that you have established previously in these last two aisles. If they don't, for whatever reason, and they slow down or they just start focusing on one side of the aisle or something like that to kind of match your speed, then that's when you perform the J-hook maneuver. They should move past. If they perform a J-hook maneuver as well, that's a highly irregular pattern of behavior, and so therefore that's stacking up points saying, hey, that person might actually be following me. Then we kick back over here into the aisle which we had just left, and then if they also come over into that aisle, that is another point. That's another indicator that they might be actually following you or stalking you or something like that. Now, we continue walking down this aisle, and then we start to pick up the rate of speed. We come over to the aisle that we have not been down yet, and then all of a sudden we stop. If they pick up their rate of speed, and then they come over, and then they stop right here once they see us, then and I would actually even recommend coming into this one, not the far one on that one, because they'll see you last second here. Hey, I'm just shopping. Very suspicious. But if they keep moving past, okay, cool. Still a little strange that they did all that stuff back there. And then when they're over here in the other aisle waiting for you, if it's not the last aisle, go ahead and skip over it. All right. And then therefore you can come in over here as they're exiting and going out into that last aisle themselves. So lots of different tools and techniques in terms of utilizing the J-hook inside of a facility. Remember, the biggest thing is that it's never for sure. We're just trying to stack up points in erratic behavior. So if you start to walk a pattern within the store that is like completely unnatural, like you're going up and down the same aisle like 15 times, and that person's up and down the same aisle 15 times, that's 15 indications that this person is definitely keeping their eye on you, following you. So you always want to stack up the points as much as you possibly can. Look people in the face. Be aware of your 5s and 25s, okay? 5 meters, 25 meters. In other words, 15 to about 100 feet. If somebody is within your distance of that, then you should just look at them and know what they're up to, and you don't get attacked. Check out On the YouTube video, we have a woman who just randomly gets hit with a baseball bat in the back of the head by some guy. No reason whatsoever, but if she would have just simply turned around and been aware of his presence, which I'm sure she was aware of it, but if she would have just looked at him and saw who he was or what the hell he was doing with a baseball bat, then she could have, one, got out of dodge, two, used pepper spray, three, shot him with a firearm, or four, just neutralized the situation by looking at him in the face, and his survival mechanisms and instinct would have kicked in and he wouldn't have wanted to strike her because of the likelihood of him being caught. Take care. I hope this is useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any point in time. SouthernCross.company is the website. Southern Cross, we, firearms training, expert firearms training, self-defense techniques, all about situational awareness and de-escalation, and then using lethal and then non-lethal tools to keep yourself safe. Take care, everybody, and always be kind.